Oh, hi. Welcome to the shop. I'm just finishing up a few projects right now, and I got a present in the mail that I think is wonderful. But there's a backstory to it. Um, I'm a member of a couple of groups on Zoom that talk about tools and woodworking and things like that, and all aspects of it. Some of it unplugged, some of it not. Some of the people like myself that use power tools as well as hand tools, and the two groups are mixed a little bit, but one is predominantly more um, outside of the United States, the people, and the other one is predominantly in the United States or Canada or thereabouts. And they're both interesting groups, and we always have interesting conversations. And inevitably, somebody shows off a tool that we haven't seen, and by we, I mean me. And that's the case in this instance. In both groups, individuals vary in age and interests and experience. And so it's really fascinating. No matter how many years of woodworking that you've done, and in my case, it's over 50. Um, you find yourself learning something new, and you're fascinated by that, and I love that. I love hearing about new things and seeing different techniques for doing things, or just seeing other people's projects and their creativity. All of that adds to my pleasure. So when a friend of ours on the group, Sean O'Donnell, was showing off a plane, I don't know what the topic was, whether it was a combination plane or what it was, but he was showing off this plane, and it was fascinating to me, and this was a while ago, and he also even wrote an article for a woodworking format. I don't remember whether it was a magazine or just an online thing, a review of this plane. This is the plane, but he was showing it off in the Zoom meeting, and I'd never seen anything like it. And I really love smaller planes. I like using them, and I like collecting them and seeing them. And I have the larger planes you've seen, but I'm always intrigued by other designs than what we have typically seen. And this is made in England, and so it's not a plane that was readily available on this side of the ocean, and but it does a lot of things, and I want to talk about it. But I also want to talk about Sean and the idea that he sent this to me out of the blue. He went to visit another friend from the Zoom meetings, Gordon McCall, up in Rochester or that area, and brought this for him to mail to me. And I did invite Sean to come visit, and I hope he does, to come visit my shop and my collections, and come visit from Ireland over here. It would be a great chance to commiserate with him and talk. So anyway, this is the plane, and I'll do some close-ups so you can see. It's called Patsy, and it's referred to as the Patsy, but it just says Patsy, genuine Patsy, made in England. There's some other lettering here. I'll look closer, give you a picture, and we can see if we can make that out. Hard to say. How about trademark? My eyes seem to be getting worse and worse. But here's the plane, and it's very interesting construction, because it's a main body in the middle, central main body, and then it has a depth stop on this side here that can be loosened and removed. And there you see the track for it, and that it's a Rabbet plane. It goes through both sides, and on the other side is a fence. So there's your fence, and it also can be removed. So here's the main body of the plane. Patsy. Two rods that go in and tighten down. Interesting no holes in the end to tighten them, so you can just do the best you can with your fingers. This bolt goes through here, across here to this opening, and holds this rod in, and then this nut clamps down itself on the rod that goes through for the depth stop. So pretty simple. This is threaded in through here, and then this tightens that down. It's got a wedge to hold the iron in here. It works on that principle. And the wedge has a little notch here, which leads me to believe, and I'm not sure, that this may want to go further down in than it is, but we'll take a look at that in a second. So there's the wedge, and then the iron. Now, I don't know who made Patsy. I've tried to look it up and see a manufacturer. It's trademarked, but I haven't discovered that. Now, if I do, I'll add that to the video, but right now I've been looking online. I can't find a lot of information about it. One of the things I found is the article that Sean wrote. So here's the iron, and the iron that I have here, you can see the mark on is Edward Preston. There you go. Not a lot of use. I've already sharpened it since I got her from Sean, just taking that edge down, put a secondary bevel on it, but taking a little bit of rust that was on here, not much. And took that apart, so we'll set that down as well. So now we've really got it just stripped down to the body. And the body has written here, Patsy, and there's an indent here, and the point of that is for the thumb, and you know that because it's not on the other side. So there's your place for your thumb, and it fits in your hand fairly well. That's probably the way I would hold it as I use it, with my thumb forward, next to the last finger pressing here against my palm, and then 2 fingers inside, and then of course I'd have another hand in the front pushing it forward, but the thumb feels comfortable on that little curve there. It's a very lightweight aluminum plane, enamel. No, I don't think it's japanned. Patsy, and it says number 55A, Patsy, and number 55A over here. Nice and clean. Obviously, they painted the whole thing, and then when they milled this back, or they sanded this back, it left the red paint in here, and certainly in here. But there it is, a clean little plane. So let me show you the parts. So here's the plane, and this is the fence that goes on the plane. But it's a 2-part fence. It's not just a simple fence. See the shape of it here? And I'll explain to you why the 2 parts. But you see, here's the 2 holes that goes onto the plane, right? And so we put the 2 together, and on the opposite side we have a fence, a right angle fence to the bed. Just tighten these down and you're all set to cut a rabbet about this width. All fine and good. Nice. And then of course we have our depth stop. And the depth stop goes in like this and slides up and down. But you see, the depth stop also has an odd profile to it. So if we put it in this way, we have a depth stop. So now we have a very good rabbet plane where the iron would come through here all the way out to the edge. This would control the depth of cut, and this how far in to the wood it would cut. But there's also another little thing, and I'm avoiding putting the blade in now because I want to turn things around and I don't want to bleed all over the video. So let's take the depth stop back off, and what we're going to do is turn it around and put it back in this way. So now on this side here, tighten that down. You can see that it comes over the iron there with a bevel. And then we're going to take off this here and turn it around this way and put it back on. And you can see that it also has a similar bevel. And that's the shape that it creates. And now you have a bevel plane that is adjustable. You can open this part and you can bring it further out. Tighten this down. And now that's the shape of the bevel that you would put on the corner of a board. So it's perfect for doing just that corner chamfering, a chamfer plane. It also has just reversing this. This gives you your fence, and all in one nice little compact plane. So here we have all the parts for this plane. I'm going to take this off. There we go. Lightweight aluminum, this actually looks like a bronze. I'll show that to you in a little bit. But let's go ahead and put the iron back in. So this is a very simple plane, and the width of this cutter seems a little strange to me that it's wider. So I don't know if this is the original blade for this plane or not. It was a gift, and I really can't say. So I slide it in from the bottom. You do need to remove the fence and the depth stop in order to get the blade in cleanly. And then all you have to do is then take the wedge that, like I say, looks like a bronze under there to be very pretty polished, and fit it in like this, and then check the depth here on this side, and tighten it down. Now this seems strange to me too. You'd think that this iron would either come further up, or that it was thinner and this wedge would go further in, because see, there's a stop right here that confuses me, but I don't know exactly, so I'll have to do some investigating. But I haven't been able to find a lot online about who made this plane, and it's really interesting. So now I've got the blade in, and you can sight down to get the height of it here, but it's all finger adjustment, either left or right or up and down. So I'll show you my way of checking that depth once I'm on a board. What I want right now is the fence. So the fence is the flat side, not the bevel side. So that's the part that I want to go underneath. And that's the one that I'll put in now. And then I'm just going to guess as to where I want it for now, and just snug those up a little bit, just so they're not moving. But I might finger tight them a little more as I go along. And then this is our depth. So on the depth stop, we have to make sure we bring this back out. On the depth stop, it has a little raised area right here, so you know that's the area that goes in, and it fits right in this track here, and that keeps it from twisting around too much. But you can raise and lower the depth stop to what you want. We'll just estimate that as well. So this is just a piece of pine that I had scrap, and it's not square. This corner here is higher, so it's sort of beveled on an angle this way to exaggerate. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this plane to take down this side of it until it's flat. So what I'm doing is I'm setting the plane up with the fence almost completely off of it, because I want it to when it cuts down to about that depth, I'll know it on the thing. This does not matter at all, the depth stop. That's not important. What's important is what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off that top corner and try to square this board off. So I'm going to do this and set the iron to the depth that I want. Since it's just this little edge here that's touching the blade, that makes it fairly easy for me to pull the iron back and then reinsert it so it's flat. And then tighten this down and make sure that the fence is tight. And let's just see how it cuts is nothing. So open this up again. See, even this wedge moves around quite a bit. So that's a little concerning as well. So there it bites. Tighten this up. I haven't looked down at it all. I'm just doing it by feel and whether or not it's moving. So I'm keeping the fence straight to this side, and it's taking off a fairly thick shaving. And I think that's okay on these skinny ones, but I'm going to bring her back to the start and run it through. A good shaving, a little stiff, and I can see the blade cut is from here to here, so I know this is not flat yet. Get it back in there. Do another little pass. Now the shaving is wider, and it's cutting fairly wide there and about the same here, so that's okay. Try that. So this is a little awkward, you know, this hit and miss thing. But it's now that's a nice shaving, and I have to be careful that I don't cup it. So I want to make sure that I'm pretty straight with the board. You see these pencil marks that I put there are still there. So I haven't gotten down enough. And now they're going away. And so now I have a fairly nice straight board here. Very good. So now I want to switch off and I want to do the chamfering, and I'll chamfer one of these corners for you. So I'm going to switch these out. The depth stop. And the fence. And we're going to turn it around the other way and put the fence back on. In that direction, and then we're going to put this back on with the bevel in, and it has a little opening in the fence here for the iron. That down, this one just stays in that position. This is the adjustable one, so we'll open these up and we'll bring it into whatever we want. The width of the chamfer is that flat part between these two pieces. You can see these corners are square. I put it in this position, so hopefully you'll be able to see what comes of this. The plane, because we're doing a chamfer, gets turned this way with that part of the fence going up against the wood in this direction, and I can it seats itself fairly well. It'll seat itself further because these will act as stops. So when it goes in a certain depth, it'll stop and won't go any deeper. So we're going to try this out and see how it goes. Yeah. I don't think you're really seeing the shaving, but now remember the width between these two is what we should wind up with between here and here. So we know definitely we have not gotten down to the main part of it, but I am getting shavings. What it's like, what you don't see is I'm looking down through here and the shaving curls up, so I can spot the shaving as we go. That was a good shaving. This is now pretty consistent. I'll try to put the camera on top so maybe you guys can see the shaving coming out and see what I'm seeing, but I don't know if I can. I really want you to see this because when it does work, it's kind of neat to see the shaving come out of this little area through there. So I'll reach around the tripod. I seem to get a little bit of movement there, just in the forward part. Here you go. That's nice. It's not a heavy-duty plane, but let me bring it in, and I think you'll be able to see the chamfer is along this line from here to here. And so that width is the same width as the bottom of here. So if I want a bigger chamfer, I just pull this out a little further and it'll give me a bigger chamfer. Just loosen these two, take it out. And I think when you're working with pine in particular, you don't really want to go too much bigger, but there's the shaving. There you go. Nice and even. So I'm going to turn these around and set them back up as a depth stop and as a regular fence, not a 45-degree fence. There we go. And we set the width that we want and the depth that we want. Okay. And we're going to run it right over this bevel here and see what this does. I had to lower the iron, different than the chamfer for some reason. And what we're going to do is we've got this set here so that the iron is in line with this face here. So we know that with the fence there, because this is in line, we know that we're going to be cutting a rabbet from this side this way. If we can see, I'm getting good shavings. I'm holding it between here and here on the front, and the same way before the, actually I think I'm going forward of that thumb grip when I use it. Let's try again. Yeah, I'm actually holding it further up. Here's the little thumb grip that they give you. I'm holding it up there and here, and I'm holding it here. So, and we're right on that line that I drew earlier. I'm going to bring this in a little bit. Okay, so you can see it starting. You can see the line that I drew saying that's where we would be going. And that lines up with the edge of the plane. So we'll run down. Nice shavings. So I'm taking off a part of that bevel there. If you were doing a molding, you could do it this way, do the chamfer, then cut that back and creating a lip there. This tool, I think, would be really good for a model maker, somebody that's not necessarily using, having to produce a lot of things, but it feels good in the hand, and it's doing a good job. Now, I haven't reached anywhere near the depth stop, so I have no idea how well that works, but I'll move it down a little bit, so I'm cheating it forward. I can feel it cutting less, and we are almost gone with that chamfer. Shavings are very nice, very consistent the whole length. And I can see how it's skipping now. That's the fence not allowing the blade to go any deeper. So that means that I'll consistently have the same depth there. That worked very well. Nice size. You see how this works and how interesting it is that it has all these different things that can be moved around. It's very inventive. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy, is discovering what other people had thought of to do the jobs that we do in woodworking. This is just an ingenious little setup. Could it be improved? Maybe. But it worked well, as you could see. But the backstory is just as important as this plane is, because the point that I want to get across here is that at my age, using Zoom and using the internet, I've found people that I can learn from and have good friendships with, and I don't think people should discount that. I think that's maybe one of the benefits of COVID is that we kind of came together on the internet, and here this gentleman from Ireland sends me this lovely little plane because he knows I'll appreciate it, and I do, and so my thanks go out to him. But as well, I'd like to try to convince some of you guys to go online and look for anything that interests you, and leave yourself open to learning new things. And in particular, if you're a woodworker, a settled woodworker, and you've been using certain tools a certain way, through these groups, like Plane Talk or Bench Talk, you might find some nice camaraderie and learn a lot, and I hope you do. Until we see each other again, I hope you take care of yourself and your friends and stay safe. Thanks for coming.